Hospital Ports, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to Her Panwo TV. I'm a pro, but it's still lunchtime here, and I'm with a man named Ray Archer. And he's going to just tell us a little bit about what he knows and what he's discovered.
Yeah. Well, I've been sort of analysing various languages, and for instance, the Japanese language. If you actually sort of take the word for vehicles and you sort of, instead of putting the words sort of horizontal but vertically, you actually get the thing that you're actually doing.
This is with the Japanese characters, the pictograms.
Yeah. Well, no, not really. The sort of name, the name for a vehicle. But offhand, I can't actually remember. But anyway, taking the sort of primitive aspect of symbols or words, if you take the word tap, which is TAP, instead of doing it sort of horizontally, do the word sort of the capital letters vertically, and you get something very interesting. You get basically that. There is the faucet. There is the top of the tap. There are some sort of pipes. If you sort of fill it in, like so, and then go upwards like that, you've got what turns it on, and there's your water.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That's strange, isn't it? It's uncanny.
Yes, it's something that not many people would know.
Yeah. I mean, the script we use is the Latin script,
yes.
which dates back about 2,000 years. For at least 2,000 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm very interested in the actual tale of Icarus.
How did this happen, do you think? How did this come about?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, some of it sort of just comes out the air. It's almost as if you can sort of pick up some sort of channel, which lends to the idea that many inventions down the centuries, including sort of lead shot, for instance, actually appeared in dreams to people who were developing. And the molten metal was actually chucked from a tower, and it became pellets on the ground.
Did it turn into little balls?
Yes.
These little balls.
Well, that was seen in a dream by some early sort of scientist. Then there was another scientist, I can't actually remember his name, but he was having difficulty removing a specimen actually from a fossil. And he was pondering about the idea of how to actually remove it, and he had a dream. And he had a dream basically that showed him how to remove it without destroying it, and he did that, and it actually came out very easily.
This is I've heard many stories about people who, and even probably most people could say at some point they gained some great insight from a dream they had. And of course in modern Western culture we're conditioned, I think, to see dreams as something frivolous and useless and pretty much meaningless. Of course, in indigenous cultures, the art of dreaming is very much alive. And I mean, I'm a Panwo TV viewer, as you know very well. I've just put up a video before this one, which is all about a dream I had, because I had an amazing dream the other day. It's a long story, so carry it, but I put it on the channel before this interview, so this series of programmes.
That's interesting in itself, because I think it's almost as if something is actually giving us information, that some people can pick up perhaps, but others don't. But there again, something perhaps gets missed by somebody else, and somebody else picks up and tunes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's because, of course, our mind you know, our waking consciousness sort of like change. I mean, we're in a different state of consciousness as a dream when we're dreaming. Dreams can be very vivid, though. Dreams can be as real, sometimes even more real than our waking life.
Yeah.
And it's always worth paying attention to your dreams. You know, write them down because it's so easy to forget them, isn't it? They so quickly vanish.
It certainly is, yeah.
You know.
Now, the other interesting aspect is our alphabet. Now, the capital alphabet, the capital A of the alphabet is basically a step ladder. It's a step ladder, and it's interesting that students, they say it's a step up the ladder, a step on the ladder, and you've actually got the shape there. And A1 is top.
Yeah, of course, A is the top grade you can get if you are a student.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also the top of a star,
Yeah.
which is also interesting.
Yeah.
You can't get any further than the top of a star. If you sort of analyse it in another aspect as well, take for instance basically the letter X. The letter X sort of can stem from that, because if you have a V like that and an A and that like that, it can be an A, but you've got they. And they starts the word value, right? Well, I'll show you something now. Yeah. If you take the V and the A in that word, you've got valux, which is basically a sort of a word for value.
Yeah.
But if you turn the V, you've got a word almost deluxe, which is deluxe, which is very important. It actually means sort of something important, something important
Deluxe,
that has got value. And if you take the V and the A there, it makes an X, and this isn't in any sort of language school. Why does it make the word X? X looks. Because
What does that mean?
value, it makes words like exclusive, which actually links your value because it's importance. So something that is important is exclusive.
Yeah. So the words are all kind of...
It all
Yeah.
mixes up together. That is completely ignored, the fact that the X is the V and the A possibly. And if you it doesn't matter whether you use the X at the end or not. Exclu makes the word loose, exclude of exclusive, and VALU makes value, and they both complement each other.
That's quite a remarkable kind of link you found there.
And it needs to be explained.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
So-called experts.
Yeah, well, I was just going to ask you, how did this come about? Because I mean, history tells us our language we use, like the English language, for instance, in particular, is a very promiscuous language that has evolved over a long period of time and changed considerably.
That's right. Yeah.
It's by admissions of new words, especially from the Romance family in terms of Norman French, and of course directly from Latin in modern Renaissance times, when Latin and Greek words entered the English language from the academic side. So, I mean, have you got any idea where this kind of encoding or these strange coincidences come from, and why do these structures exist?
I think it's a basis of a very old language. And because I've been looking into, say, languages today, they've got an element, possibly of Atlantean, I don't know. It might be an Atlantean language, it might have even been something like with Sanskrit. Because Sanskrit, the old Indian sort of tongue, actually has the remnants of the European sort of.
Well, it's part of the European Indo-European family.
That's right.
So
Now,
like,
the other interesting aspect is if you take the word X, the letter X, as, say, a propeller, you get something very interesting, which needs explaining again. If you take the word aviat of aviator,
that comes from the word bird, the Latin sort of root of the.
well, it's supposed to.
Yeah.
It's supposed to. But I found something very interesting out of this, because the word taxi is sort of links to the cab, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
it can also be an air taxi, which is an helicopter.
It also refers to what an aircraft's moving on the ground before, well, when it's not flying.
Well, I will now show you something very interesting. If you take the T as a tail section, and an A, an X, and an I, you've got basically a helicopter shape.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other interesting thing is, as I was saying with the aviator is very interesting because if that links taxi, which it does, it proves it. Because if you take an anagram of aviat and you slide an aviat, which is there, right, and it becomes a vate, right, like that. You're using the A and the V as the X, and then add the AT.
X.
If you alter that, you've got tax of taxi, which links the anagram of that to that, and that needs explaining too.
Yeah.
If etymology is exactly how these so-called word experts say it is, I find it's entirely different. Yeah. And why should you have something which actually builds the shape of an helicopter?
Well, you know, there's several different ideas, because Len Horowitz, a guy who I don't know if you've heard of him.
I like the chap.
Yeah, he talks about that there are secret codes built into modern languages. But I mean, there's only several possibilities really here. One is that's whoever the reason we use these words, the reasons languages have changed in the way they do and they evolve in the way they do, is not by accident or natural evolution. There's some form of control in the system, and I mean, I'm well aware, you know, that the governments do control language.
Yes.
I mean, we're seeing it today with things like political correctness and sort of official terminology. Of course, George Orwell identified the concept of newspeak in his book 1984. But what makes me surprised is, I mean, there is another alternative is that these things arise subconsciously in the human species, in our brains, in the language areas of our brains, through some kind of esoteric force that's involved. Those are the only two possibilities I can think of. And which do you feel yourself more closely drawn to?
I saw something very interesting. The chap who was in Star Trek, what's his name? I'm trying to think. Played Captain Kirk.
William Shatner.
Yeah, William Shatner actually did an interesting video. And he interviewed several people, and he interviewed somebody at NASA, a scientist. And he said something very interesting. He says that these entities, or whatever they are, could actually be beaming into our brains and giving us information.
Is this the Chariots of the Gods video?
No, I believe it's what was it now? Something. I can't actually remember.
It doesn't matter. I know he did a video about Eric von Daniken and these.
But there's another aspect. Now, if this was coincidence about taxi and everything, we would expect that if you cut the letters down, nothing would happen.
Yeah.
But instead, it does. Because if you take the word AX of taxi and add an E, you've got axe. Well, the word chopper links the taxi because it's the American term.
Yeah.
There's your axe. Why does that happen?
Yeah, of course, a chopper. Yeah, it's an axe. Well, that's a strange link there. Yeah.
There you go. You see.
It'd be worth. I mean, obviously, like, it's a kind of pun, really, isn't it?
It is.
And of course, this you couldn't use the same pun in other languages. But I mean, if you speak another language, or you know someone who speaks another language very well, it'd be worth asking them if they've discovered similar structures in these other modern languages.
Yeah. Now, the other interesting aspect is if you take the word axe, use the X, and so on. You've got the actual X and the O linking the word axle, and there's a wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Blimey, yes. That is this wheel, isn't it?
Wheel.
That's strange. That's peculiar.
So there you go. All this needs explaining.
It does.
And if some linguist or some clever chap could actually say that there was nothing to it, I would need convincing.
It's most linguistics these days take a very sort of like Darwinian idea to language, in the sense that language changes and evolves in the same way that life does.
Yes.
Into new forms.
Yes.
You get hybrids. You get subspecies and things like that, which eventually become their own language. You know, like Latin. Latin eventually became French, Spanish, these other Romance language. English, you know, German. See, German and English have the same root, and then there's the Celtic languages like Welsh, Irish, and things like that. And they say basically these are just like families and different phylum of. They often use biological sort of metaphors actually when they're describing language, like evolve, like hybrid, like split and things like that. So. So obviously, you know, you've called into question all of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've obviously taken a completely different. You've taken this. You're going to take all this. If this is true, it puts all of the linguistic studies
Now,
in a different.
I'll tell you
context.
something else. Looking at a language, looking at the language Gaelic, you get the word air. Actually spelt AYR.
Yeah.
And
There's a place at Ayr in Scotland.
that's right. Yeah. The interesting thing is if you sort of variate it a bit by putting the A there and putting a Y there, you get a stealth.
The stealth.
Near enough the stealth.
The stealth aircraft.
Yeah.
It is a resemblance there, definitely.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, there's nothing new under the sun.
Well, it's interesting that
when I give a talk, which I hope to do probably in a year or two, that's going to be the title probably. Nothing new under the sun.
Well, that's a good title and very intriguing because I mean they'll be sure. I'm sure that this conference will give you a speaker. Interestingly, just interesting aside. I mean the Ayr is a town in Scotland. It's quite close to the secret airbase of Machrihanish, which is where stealth aircraft do operate from.
Well, you get these kind of more than coincidences actually appearing. And I've actually found a stealth shape also in Welsh.
Oh, right. That's a language I can speak sort of quite well. Yeah. Not very well these days.
Yeah. Is it W?
Which word is it?
I think it's wire. I think something WYR, but it's reverse stealth. If I'm right.
Weir means. What does that mean? Scot will know. Scot. Sorry, man. What does weir mean in Welsh? W-I-R. Is that a Welsh word? I'm not familiar with it. Is it? Oh, as in Mamgi, Tadki?
Yeah.
Oh, right. W-Y-R.
Yeah.
Weir.
I think it's called grandparents or grandkids.
Oh, right. I can't remember because I've heard the word, but I can't remember what it means. Yeah, I usually say mamgi, tadki when I did Wales. See you later, Scott. So thanks very much, mate. Thank you. Right, so carry on. Sorry, carry on.
I think I've got the right one.
I think it refers.
What does it actually mean? That particular one?
Scott thinks it refers to. If there's anyone else, any panel of TV viewers who speak better Welsh than me and Scott, right? Can you let us know? But it's a reverse style, you're saying.
Yeah. So sort of like this.
Yeah. With the R and it's air backwards.
Yes, basically.
Well, right. I think they're about to start on the conference again. So I think we're going to have to go back in there. But thanks very much for this interesting interview.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And I'll let you know it's on YouTube.
I hope it gives people food for thought.
I hope so, mate. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's Ray Archer there, revolutionary and unconventional linguist with some interesting insights into words and how they're written. Well, thanks for watching. See you later.